Given that I'm the senior member of this entire group, I'm going to sit on a stool. Usually, no, it's funny. I've been doing these kinds of events. Well, the first one we ever did, I did with Tom back in, was it 90, 91? 90. Was it 90 at KSBN? 90. He flew me out to Spokane. He said, come on out and do a presentation, do your show live from here at a big event he was planning. And that's the first event that I ever did where I got up on stage. And back then, I literally used to run around the audience. Those days are over. I will not run around anymore. I'm getting close to maybe kind of sort of retiring. And instead last year, I've done different things, different presentations. I've done one on the history of investing, on how you build the perfect portfolio and all those kinds of things. And this year I wanted to talk more generally about being retired because it's something I've been thinking a lot about. I mean, a lot. When will I? Will I? What will I do? How will I live? I got the money okay. It's all that other stuff, and I thought this other stuff is pretty important. So I want to talk about the realities of retirement as much as I can within 30 minutes. Now, I have this pad in front of me only because when I'm giving you numbers, I want to make sure I have them right because the old brain leaks worse than it used to. So I want to make sure I have them right. But first, how many of you here, excuse me, are 65 or older? Raise your hands. Do you know how lucky you are? No, really. Do you realize historically how bloody lucky you are? In 1925, just 100 years ago, getting to 65 was incredibly rare. It was a much smaller portion of the population than it is today. Today it's about 16%. Back then it was like 4 or 5. In the early part of the 20th century, the whole thing, and I want to make sure I have this right, 40% of men born in the year 1900 lived till 65. 60% of women did. I'm not saying that I don't know causation, but they lived a lot longer than we did. Oh, wait, no, they still do. Oh, okay. But the good news is about 80% of men born in the mid-20th century now live to be 65 or older. 80% of us. The reason, there are a lot of reasons. Our health is better. Our lifestyles are a little bit better than they were in many cases. We don't have horrible diseases killing us. We don't have the high infant mortality we had even 70, 80 years ago. All of these things have improved dramatically. And our lives have lengthened because of that. 100 years ago, if you made it to 65, you had about 12 years on average to live. Nowadays, if you make it to 65, we're approaching 2 decades. You are likely to live 20 more years. Some of you are going to live a whole lot longer, Jimmy. Some of you, I'm sorry, won't be as fortunate. But the fact that you're here and that you lived already until 65, or you're almost there, or you're going to get there. Now, would you attribute that to luck or skill? Yes, there you go. It depends. Oh, we'll get to that. I mean, really, I wanted to throw that in because one of the things we talk a lot about is luck or skill in almost anything in life. Predicting the future, picking the right stocks, being in the right place at the right time, those kinds of things. It's not skill, it's luck. Most things that happen to us in life are luck. We want to think we're more talented than we are, but remember, we're just a bunch of very large primates with very big brains. It's mainly luck that we got to where we are. And we should feel very lucky. It gives you decades. Think about this. Decades to enjoy all of the good stuff that life, not retirement, but life is going to throw at you that's going to give you over the next few years. And I don't know what that is. But that could be 20 years with your family that you wouldn't have had, or an extra 8 or 9 years with your family that you wouldn't have had. More time to see things that, of course, you'll forget as minute you die, but hey, it'll be fun seeing them. I know, it depresses me every time I think about it. I mean, I spent the summer driving across the country in an Airstream with my wife, visiting with listeners, seeing amazing things from the most mundane, discovering the fact that there is corn across the United States from the East Coast until you get to like Montana. It's all corn. America is made of corn. You couldn't see anything but corn. Okay, it was corn. Some other plant I didn't recognize. Corn, maybe a field of wheat. But it's mainly corn. America is made of corn. I'd use as a joke, but I'm not going to. But in this, another thing that we are incredibly lucky about is living in the age in which we live, and I don't think we appreciate it as much as we should. We live in great times, despite all the stuff that ticks us off, particularly politically. I didn't say that. Gotta try to ignore that, okay? It's just gonna make you unhappy. It's okay, no matter which side, it's gonna make you unhappy. But think about the stuff we as humans have done in the last 100, 150 years. Can you imagine trying to get to this thing on a horse? Tom can. Tom loves his buggy. Can you imagine trying to communicate with your family 100 years ago or 150 years ago? I mean, think about bathrooms. For God's sake, we're so lucky we have indoor plumbing and, really fancy stuff now. But really, the thing that I think we as older people, and I throw myself in that group because I don't think we appreciate enough. And that is, where did I put it? So many pockets, so little time. These things. And I mean these things in a broad sense. When I was a kid in the 60s, I went to the gigantic screened theater in Colorado, and I watched a movie that enthralled me. It was called 2001: A Space Odyssey. And the thing that enthralled me most of all was the dude on the space station talking to his kid on a TV screen. I went, that's amazing, we need that. How long did it take us to get that? How many of you have spoken to a child or grandchild face to face over a great distance because of these? Folks, I'm telling you, that's a miracle. I love that I can talk to my grandkids and play with them like this. I love that. And let me tell you, I'm an early adopter of things. I do not drive a buggy. My car is semi-self-driving, which freaks the heck out of Tom. Not totally self-driving because I don't have that kind of money, or I'm not going to blow that kind of money. But I will blow that kind of money on cooler tech. You may not think much of this right now because it's in its infancy. But let me tell you, what for an older person, particularly when the day comes when your mobility is threatened, you really are stuck somewhere like my mother is right now with dementia in a long-term care facility. If you guys embrace this technology now, I truly believe it will change your life when you cannot physically get around anymore. Because I spent a lot of money on this. My wife, well, she gave it to me for Christmas, but I paid for most of it. It's this. Now, I don't have it plugged in, so I can't see you, but I look incredibly stupid. I recognize the fact that I look incredibly stupid. I don't care. Because when I am inside this thing, I can bring up videos that I shot of my grandchildren and my children and places I visited in full 3 dimensions. I am literally, you will not, I was going to show you here, and I went, no, because you're going to see it in 2 dimensions. It's not going to mean a darn thing to you to see it in 2 dimensions. But this is going to allow you, when you're old and infirm, to spend time with people, and it's going to be like you're there. The only thing you can't do is smell them or touch them. I have, with this, gone to New Zealand again. And literally, when you put this on, I hear the birds in the trees. I turn my head. I hear them over here now. They move. I am there. And I'm telling you, when I'm 80 and can't get around, to be able to go there when I can't get on a plane and go there, and somebody else with a very high-end 3D camera can take me there, and I can turn my head and see what's going on over there and over there and all over there. That's going to be pretty miraculous, because it's pretty miraculous to me now, and I can get on a plane and go those places. Plus, you can watch TV. But this kind of technology, we are so lucky. I'll give you another example. There was a recent, very robust study done on AI. Now, AI is still a pain in the butt and wrong a lot, and it's far from perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect technology. But there was this very robust study done comparing AI diagnoses for a medical trained AI with those of professional MD diagnosticians. And the AI outdiagnosed the doctors. Why? It had access to more knowledge than the doctors could possibly store in their brains, or even in their books or their computers. Now, the curious thing is, when it was a joint doctor AI decision, the results were worse than the doctor alone. Reason? Think about us for a minute. Are we superior to everything else? Yeah. I mean, think about, okay, another one. It's going to change. How many of you are approaching 80? There might be a couple. Anybody? Okay. As you're approaching 80, you ever had your kids say, Dad, Mom, should we make sure you can still drive safely? It's going to happen. Okay? Do I want to call a Lyft every time I want to go somewhere? No, I want some freedom, but if I can't drive, I don't mind letting the car drive. Try it sometime. It's not that scary. It's really not. Now, there are accidents, and this is the thing. We want to denigrate those that threaten us. And now those that threaten us are silicon. So every time there's an accident in a self-driving car, freak out. We forget that that same day there were like 500 other worse accidents in cars driven by people. We suck at driving. Drive around. Have you ever been on 405? Do they drive well? He hates, I've been on the phone with him, of course, through his speakers in his car in a very safe manner. And the entire time on 405, it's Tom cussing at people. I can't see. So, you're lucky. You guys are so lucky. I'm so lucky. We got to quit focusing on the bad stuff. I would not want to live, and I love history. I love history. I read every period, particularly American history. I read everything I could get my hands on. I'm reading about the 50 years up to the Civil War right now. It's fascinating. But I don't want to live there. None of you want to live there. And when it comes to money, more facts, hold on. Got to pull them up. It always goes to sleep on me. All right, let's talk about being comfortable. Let me make sure I have my numbers. 100 years ago, about 1 in 5,000 plus Americans had more than $1 million. 100 years ago. Today, that 1 million is about 16 million. And it's now 1 in 61. 1 in 61 Americans have the 1925 equivalent of $1 million when it was 1 in 5,000. So not only are the rich getting richer, but the rest of us are getting richer. How many of you feel like or do rely entirely on Social Security for your retirement income? Why not? Not enough. But you know what's interesting is that 100 years ago, you had nothing. If you made it to 65 and you wanted to stop working, unless you saved money, which was not the norm, or had a pension, which was not the norm, you had to, wait, you had to what? You had to retire. No, retirement was, 100 years ago, retirement was almost unheard of. Nobody retired. Your great-grandparents didn't retire. They just eventually had to stop working when they got too infirm to do it. And then what did they do usually? Lived with family. You know, like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. You had grandma and grandpa sleeping with the kids. We are lucky in retirement today because we have means by which to build wealth that never existed before. When just 40 years ago, when I started in this industry, if you wanted to get into a mutual fund, there were not thousands, well, there were a couple of thousand, hundreds mainly, of funds you could get into to invest. Or you bought individual stocks and you paid these huge commissions. But even to get into these mutual funds, the typical commission back then was 5 3/4%, and my firm, Dean Witter, was still selling funds at 8.5%. How much do you pay for your ETFs today? The equivalent of zero. I mean, when you're below 1/10 or 0.2%, it's the functional equivalent of you're not paying for it. You're not paying for most things today as much as you were. We say we're paying more. You are for eggs. Did you hear about the robbery? They stole, what, like a truckload of eggs, and it was worth like $40 million or something. Now, in a few years, that's going to be a gross. It's going to be gross, yeah. That's all right. You know, we could live without eggs. But the fact is, we have an amazing opportunity to invest and build wealth. And we've done it, by the way. Let's see, I wanted to find this. Hold on. All right, that's what I wanted to talk about. Okay. Let's get to retirement. Now, some of you are already in it, I assume. How many are in retirement? Of those who aren't, how many of you plan to keep working past 65? Why? No, it's a legit question. You're waiting to take it at 70. Okay. Oh, I love you. What are you going to do if you, okay, let's talk to the retirees again. People who are retired right now. What do you do all day? Wait, did I hear somebody say work? Huh? All day? You're worse than the dudes on the golf course. Really? How many of you play golf all day? There's the guy. Good for you, sir. And I'm glad you're doing what you love. That is what my son will be doing when he retires. Because that's what he does now because he married a wealthy woman. So. Well, you're the reason. What? I'm the reason you're golfing? Yes. I gave you the clubs? Okay. And now you can afford to golf. Exactly. Do you golf good courses? All the courses. Oh, he's great. He's got it. All right, the rest of you. What are you doing in retirement? What are you going to do for 20 years? Have you really thought about that? Can you imagine sitting on the couch with your spouse for 20 years? Dee Dee? She's telling me no without saying no. I cannot imagine that. We have to have more purpose in retirement than just sitting on the couch. And that's something you need to think about. Now, I am, by the way, because we are living so long and are so healthy, I think the idea of retiring at 65, no offense to those who did, I don't mean offense, this is a big general statement, it's a dumb age. I mean, I'm 68 now. And I was kidding about needing the stool, but I'm 68, and there's no 68 inside here. Is there a 68 inside your head, or a 65, or a 60? No, how old do you guys feel? 35, that's a good age. Who else? Who's got an age? What do you feel? 40. 40, yeah. That's about where I am, 30, 40, somewhere in that range. Because my brain is still really, really busy. And that's what our brains are busy. Don't let your brain languish. I know you could say the same thing about body, but I'm not going to be a hypocrite. But I am keeping my brain active. I have told my wife, she goes, when are you going to retire? I said, never. I said, because what would I do? Oh, wait, I know what I do. Oh, wow. Yeah. I tell you, there's nothing like, and I know a lot of you don't like this, but there's nothing like watching Game of Thrones in the Iron Throne Room on a 30-foot screen. I can't do this. I can't. So what will probably happen, I hate to say, is that I'll still be doing a podcast with Tom. And voice work. If anybody needs voice work, I'm available for hire. I do a lot of voice work now. Can I tell you all a secret? I think I can tell you now because the political season is over, sort of. I'm going to tell them. How much time do I have? No. Okay. When I started 3 years ago in voice acting, really seriously, I'd done it for a sideline for a while. But this is my retirement. I've decided this is my retirement. I love to act. I love to get on stage. I've been in like 20 or 30 plays. I love to get up on stage and act, but there's no money in it. I'm never going to be a professional. I tried. I went to training and I had an agent, and getting jobs in face acting is really hard, particularly in Orlando. You know, you end up in Florida lottery commercials. Or Disney commercials, a lot of Disney commercials. But I had done voice acting before, and I decided, no, I'm going to focus on that. I got some great coaches. Always, if you're going to pursue something in retirement, get the knowledge. Take some classes. Keeps the brain expanding. I got some great coaches. And one of my coaches, a guy named J. Michael Collins, who if you heard his voice, you'd know it. He's very, very well known. I was at an event, and we were talking about politicals. And I said, J. Michael, I don't think I want to do politicals because I have standards. He goes, don't have standards. It's voice work. It's a job. You're acting. Would you take a role as a villain? I said, yeah, I love roles as villains. There's a video game I'm not going to tell you the name of that I'm in where I'm the dad. And I'm a nasty, horrible person. But I'm not going to tell you the name of it. But anyway, I got an audition request for a political, and I've been doing a few little politicals, nothing big. They're usually internet ads. They go on a website. Nobody sees them. So this one came in, and this was during the whole Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump primary. And Ron DeSantis was accused of having some bad eating habits. Remember what his bad eating habit was? Eating pudding with his fingers. Remember? Well, there was an ad. This is an ad. It was funny. It was a funny ad. It was funny. It says, Ron DeSantis needs to keep his pudding fingers out of your entitlements. And then it ended with, would somebody get this guy a spoon? And I thought it was funny. And it said internet only. So it was $400 gross, which means 300 and something to me after the agent. So I did the commercial, thought nothing of it. I get up one morning, I read the New York Times, I read the Times, the Post, the Journal. I'm reading the Times, and it talks about this television commercial that's getting all of this attention, and they called it the pudding fingers spot. And I'm sitting in the chair, and I look over at Debbie, and I went, Debbie, I think something happened. She goes, what? I think my spot went viral. She goes, what? And she starts looking it up. She goes, oh my God. You're on CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Newsmax. You're on The Tonight Show. They were playing my commercial everywhere. I didn't know. And by the way, it was MAGA, who, I didn't know this. I only know it's an advertising agency. I never know who the client is. Should have known. Stupid. But it was MAGA, and they paid me, $400 gross for this, for an internet ad. Well, a TV ad should have been $1,200. And they put it on television. So I had to have my agent fight them for the extra money, which after a few months I finally got. But needless to say, that was my last political spot. So I don't do politicals anymore. But you see, have something that you're passionate about. And I got to tell you, I get up in the morning and I look at the audition requests and I go, this is going to be fun. And I only do the fun ones. I don't have to do them. I'm not making a living off of them. I only do the fun ones. Oh my gosh, I have digressed so much, folks. I am a terrible human being. Look, I've lost my glasses. Oh. My wisdom glasses. Copyright 2001, Don McDonald. Actually, it's probably 2011. All right, let's do the important part. This is the important part. All right, I want to talk about investing. This is the part where you have the money. This going to do this really fast. How many of you have a retirement plan, a financial plan, written down? Okay. How many of you have a financial advisor? How many of you have a financial advisor who works for firms like LPL, Voya, Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, Ameriprise, or the like? Or how many of you did with one of those firms? Yeah, it's a different story. You need a plan, but you need a plan that really looks out for you, not the company. And I'm sorry, but Voya, Ed Jones, all of those guys, their primary concern is not you. Their primary obligation is not to you. It's to their firm. They are not looking out for your best interest. So, when you seek out financial advice, here's what I need you to understand. We all want answers to the big questions. How much money am I going to make? What's the market going to do? How safe am I going to be? All of these things. And we're going to talk about some of those things, how you build these portfolios for various degrees of risk. Because all of this, and I'm going to give you 2 words here, and then I'm going to give you 2 more words. When it comes to building your wealth and everything else with retirement, 2 words. It's personal. Everything should be focused on you. It is personal. There is no rote answer, no absolute answer. There's no black, there's no white, there's only gray. And you've got to make sure you're dealing with people who understand you and your personal shades of gray, not in terms of that book. Although, anybody really like that book? Okay. Anyway, I was kidding. I'm not asking that question. And then, when it comes to wanting knowledge about money and anything else, I want to give you two more words that I want you to really burn into your memory. I use it all the time, and Tom laughs, but I'm serious. When it comes to any question you have about anything, the answer is usually, it depends. It depends. You'll never know the future. Everything depends on what happens outside of any true control you have or any true knowledge you have. No matter how smart you think you are, you don't know what the future is going to bring, so everything depends on what happens in that next moment, things over which you probably have no control. So let go of that. You can't have an accurate hunch. You can't. You're guessing. And let's go back to the beginning, where I talked about being lucky. Have any of you ever picked the right stock at the right time? Were you lucky or skillful? Lucky. Take all those words. It's personal, it depends, and it's just luck with you. Because, by the way, when it comes to the luck, let me tell you, there are studies galore that show that any active money manager out there is more likely to, the successful ones, the ones who beat the market, which are few and far between, their outperformance is more likely attributable to luck than skill. Skill, when it comes to the future, generally doesn't exist because, again, everything depends, and don't forget, it's personal. Take it personally. It's serious. Thank you all. I appreciate it.